Welcome back to Two Homers and a Realist. We're out here under the stars getting ready to talk about the depth chart, some draft information, and then maybe a little bit about Texas. I'm Steve.
Lucas.
Jay.
And Connor.
That's right. We're at full strength, ready to go. So, Jay, tell me about the depth chart. We don't know a lot. Here we are sitting a few weeks out of the spring practice. They are finishing finals, those diligent little student athletes, and getting
Portal
ready
windows
for
closed.
Portal windows closed. They are getting ready for some strength and conditioning and other drills that they'll do during the summer. But what do you think about the depth chart that we know so far?
All right, so this is what I was thinking. I will list the position and maybe first for starters for sure, some second stringers.
Projected starters.
Projected. And then compare that with if we think it's an upgrade or downgrade from last season.
All right.
So let's just start the most important position, quarterback. Year number 2, Gabriel. We have a real backup quarterback this year, Jackson Arnold. What do you guys think?
Those booty.
Upgrade, downgrade, what?
Upgrade.
I mean, huge upgrade at the backup.
Huge
position.
upgrade.
Yeah.
Both are upgrades.
Even with the inexperience, just the physical tools are.
Now, are we just evaluating the position as a whole, whether it's been upgraded?
From last
Or are we-
season's starting,
full-scale
okay.
upgrade.
starting team.
You have to expect
2022.
more out of Gabriel. You have to expect improvement in the system and everything. And then, obviously, a very strong backup.
Connor?
I am cautiously going to say upgrade. I think holistically the group is an upgrade, obviously, with a backup who's going to challenge Gabriel to be better. But I am worried. About
The
Worried about the
invasion.
National Guard invasion. It sounds like
that
is that a
an-
Chinook flying over?
is that a-
I can't see it. It's too dark.
Nah.
Nope, it's not a double rotor. It's a single.
That's the police helicopter. They fly over. Hey guys. Hey Jake. Yeah, get out of here.
I'm glad
All
I'm
right.
under this tree. I think I'm cautious to say. I agree with Steve. I think Gabriel theoretically should be better. A year in the system, a year of an additional offseason of maturity and just learning his players. But we'll see. I'm very cautious about what I'm going to say about him specifically. But as a position, holistically, definitely an upgrade.
Yeah, I agree. Should be an upgrade.
Any
Same.
different?
Yep.
So I would say, I'm going to echo something you said there, or really elaborate on it, that the expectation for Dylan is higher and needs to be. And so we're going to demand more.
It's very
Which-
similar to Spencer in his second year.
Yeah.
I do hope we don't have chance for. We want Jackson. If Gabriel has an
Yeah, I really
an
hope we
interception
don't do
and,
that.
200 yards. After
Yeah.
3.5 quarters.
Well, and what's funny is Brent will have a lot to say about that.
Oh,
if
yes, he would.
If
Yeah.
that's what happens at
And
any point.
keeping in mind what got us to that moment, it was a combination of several games of disappointment and apparently a lot of the behind the scenes,
Off the field.
this guy's a jerk and this guy's won our hearts.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's probably happening, that dynamic.
Yeah.
So hopefully not.
Yeah, but do the students know that?
That's
What I don't.
But the students loved one and hated the other, so it was.
Well, backup
I think
quarterback's
that's
always been the most
they're
popular
always the most
position.
popular
Yeah.
guy. But I do think, I would like to say, in maybe the fans' defense or whoever, at the same time, if Dylan's not getting the job done, and it's clearly, and it won't be clear because our schedule is pretty easy to start with, but
I mean, the whole season.
well, most of the season's pretty easy, but
Yeah.
it's definitely easy to start with. So, man, if he's not succeeding then it's probably easy to make a move. But it might be a hard decision to make, but you might have to make the move. You
At
might have to
Cincinnati is going to
decide
be
what
the
to
first
do.
test.
I mean, but this staff has shown that they're loyal to a fault.
I know.
A little bit
I know.
Like Justin
That's what scares
Broyles.
me.
I mean, that dude shouldn't have been on the field, and they still, he's a solid guy, and he's the leader of his team, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, regardless of him having no athletic ability
Yeah, but
to be in that position.
I think the 6 and 7 mark is going to chip away at that because
a good point.
Brent knows there is not another 6 and 7 season that he can have.
Not in this
That is
schedule.
not an option.
Not
Yeah.
with this schedule.
well, and you go back to
yeah,
the
but last year's
quote that
schedule wasn't any tougher.
no,
Oh yeah,
it
it's
was
tougher. The league was better. I think the league
Yeah.
will be down next year.
Yeah, and probably definitely the non-conference was tougher.
It was.
I think so. You've got with who was it that played Georgia tight after they played us? Kent
Kent State.
State. They're better than Tulsa. They're better than SMU.
And Nebraska's probably better than.
Nebraska's a bigger name than what they showed on the field. So I think there's less. I don't think we.
I mean, us being able to avoid Baylor and Kansas State
Yeah.
makes this
Oh, yeah.
schedule easier.
Yeah, much easier.
Automatically.
Yeah, much easier.
But
Iowa State's not as good as they were.
You're at Provo, you're at Cincinnati, and you got to play UCF as well. It's not.
Remains to be seen. Yeah.
I don't think it's a very. I don't think it's. I'm not going to say it's a world beater schedule by any means.
No.
But you're replacing some Power Fives with some.
Yeah.
including
some-
one that played
You're,
in the
you're
national
at
championship.
an up Kansas. You're at a Kansas who's on the rise. You're at an Oklahoma State who's going to be out for blood in their last bedlam.
If they can
potentially.
field a team.
If they can field a team potentially ever. So I mean, it's not going to be. It's not going to be this. It's not going to be an SEC schedule, and it's not going to set us up for the SEC by any means. But it's not going to be this walk in the park that I think.
We probably are underrating that schedule, to be honest.
if this was a typical OU team, not based on last year, but the previous decade before, we
Or
would
our
all
standards,
be,
period.
We would all be expecting
12
no
and oh.
worse than 11-1 as far as Texas being our only tough game.
Right.
It should,
And,
it's-
and we would all be thinking we're going to go 12-0.
It should still be that way. I mean, it's last year. Obviously underachieved, and all of our expectations were not met. But a few plays here and there. We're not very good last year, and we could have been a 10-win team.
Yeah.
So
Very quick, very easily. a
yes,
10-win
very
team.
easily. So
That's true.
there's no reason to not have that.
So what's the next position?
Next
Okay,
position.
next position, running back. We have a combination of Javante Barnes and Gavin Sawchuk. I actually think Sawchuk is going to take the RB1 spot to start just because Barnes missed so much of spring. And I think he just has a different gear, and he showed a level of toughness and power in the Florida State game that I think most people just thought he was a speed guy. Get to the edge, outrun people, but he was running through people, putting his shoulder down and getting extra yards. So that'll be interesting.
We're replacing Eric Gray.
Versus Eric Gray.
Right.
But who else is on that group?
It's hard to say. I would say Tawi Walker is just a little bowling ball of muscle, and he's hard to take down. I don't know if he'll actually be third when the season comes around,
Hicks will be third.
or if it be Hicks,
Hicks, yeah.
or
What we don't know is how deep they'll actually go.
We didn't see him go deep last
They
year
didn't
at
go
all.
deep last year, and in past years, Lincoln didn't.
And they
go
rode
deep
Gray
hard.
a lot.
but really his backup was a true freshman.
And
So
an injured
But,
Marcus
but
Walker,
in
or
that-
Marcus Major.
Marcus
Right.
Major, but you got to worry about. And so, Jay, upgrade. What is your thought on that position this year? I think this one's easy.
I think if both guys are healthy, it's an upgrade.
I think talent-wise, upgrade.
Yeah.
Depth
if
and
they're both
talent,
fully healthy.
upgrade.
Depth for sure, because the
You know what
incoming
I'm saying?
freshmen
completion, yeah,
are
all of
very
that
good.
completed
Yeah.
together.
potential is an upgrade.
Yeah,
Sawchuk and Barnes have
Yep.
a higher ceiling.
Yes.
Where
than
does
Eric
Marcus
Gray had.
Major fit
Yep.
into this at all?
I don't know if he does.
He just
He didn't go to the
can't
portal.
stay on the. He just can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
he may surprise us.
He might be a
might be an H back. I don't know.
no. He might just be a guy that
Comes
gets
in.
one season, right? His whole career comes down to I stayed healthy once, and
Yeah,
I mean, we
you're
were
not gonna take him
calling
out
for
the
Marcus
field.
Major to start in Game 3 last
He
year.
looked good.
and I
healthy.
don't
Because-
think
and
we
he looked
were
good.
wrong to
But
think about it.
I don't either.
Yeah,
So
But Barnes is for sure number one. For sure number one, if he comes back healthy. To me,
I think Sawchuk ran better than
Sawchuk
Barnes.
has got a lot.
I didn't
of
like
potential,
Barnes'
and
vision.
I look at.
Sawchuk is a very smaller, limited. I mean, Sawchuk only had the carries in the Florida State game. Barnes had like 150 carries on the season, but I don't know that he sees the field as well as Sawchuk saw the field against Florida State.
I don't know DeMarco Murray and his coaching enough to know. I would like to think that he sees true talent and what can potentially be there. And I'm thinking in terms of Sawchuk, is Sawchuk in his eyes, in my eyes, the guy who can get to that higher ceiling, and we need to get him in there as much as we can to develop him in real games to see if he can really flourish.
You don't normally get elite track level speed that showed the kind of power that he
Power,
showed in
yeah.
Florida State.
is this going to be a Kennedy Brooks, Trey Sermon situation?
I thought the
where
exact same thing.
they can run the crap out of Sawchuk for 2.5 quarters.
And Barnes
with
closes.
Barnes,
Barnes
Barnes
closes
every now
hard.
and then the fourth quarter, it's like we've got a 14 to 17 point lead. We're running Barnes.
And we've got power now. Yeah.
Yep.
I
that-
think
Could be.
I mean, could be.
I very much think that might be the case, and I would compare it if Anderson would have stayed healthy, an Anderson Sermon type of mix in the running
Yeah.
styles. I think that group is a very loud upgrade to me. I think Eric Gray was good. I think if Sawchuk would have been in the system earlier or whatever was there, I think Brent was riding a veteran mentality last year, and I hope this year it's more of the best guys are going to be on the field. I'm with Jay. I think it's probably Sawchuk Barnes if I had to go 1-2, but I think it's a very loud upgrade relative
How do
to
we know
where
how
they
they
were
fit in the
last year.
blocking scheme on passing
Yeah.
plays too, though? Like,
True.
That's
Right.
huge. That is huge.
Yeah,
Pass
maybe
protection
one
is
guy
huge.
really knows what he's doing, and
Hopefully
in
more than
major,
one.
let's say,
Mhm.
and the other two guys are still coming along on the pass protection aspect, and they just trust Major more. I mean,
That
it's-
changes
who
everything.
knows?
Back to trust. I think that's why Gray
Yeah.
was the guy. I think Venables looked out and said, "I've got trouble
Cannot
everywhere.
lose Gabriel again.
I can't. Yeah. Well, I can't. I can't. I'm taking chances everywhere. I just need to. I need one less decision
I
in
need a
my
solid.
life.
I need a solid.
That's my decision. Everything else is where we're going to try to mix and match. That's my one guy I'm going to lean on, and I don't have enough time to worry about it. And now, hopefully, they've got some luxury to worry about it and make some changes and get some guys in.
So
Big
Steve, you
upgrade.
saying upgrade?
Big upgrade.
Lucas, same.
Yeah, it's upgrade.
All right, wide receiver. Let's go with Farouk. He's probably got a spot. Drake Stoops has a spot. Andrell Anthony from Michigan seems like he's probably got a spot. I would say those are your quote starters at your XYZ positions. You've got backups of like
Bunkley
LV
Shelton.
Buckley Shelton, Gavin Freeman, combination of Nick Anderson, DJ Graham,
Gibson.
Gibson.
If he can catch the football,
Petaway's a freshman that's coming in. He won't have a lot of time to learn it, but he has elite 4.3 type speed. Like a 10.4 guy in track just like last week. So the wide receiver room, in my opinion,
the Texas kid.
is Texas transfer.
Yep.
Thompson is it's full of potential, but
Well,
that's all it's got.
Lucas, last year in our preseason build up to the regular season, you mentioned how big of a question mark was in the running back room. Didn't know what we had. Feel the exact same way for the most part about this wide receiver group.
Yep.
You know what you have with Drake Stoops, and outside of that, I don't know.
I think we know Farouk.
I've seen Farouk. We've
Yeah.
seen flashes. We've seen big games, and we've seen where
Yeah.
he puts up zeros.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we have a quarterback that can't throw the middle. That kind of hurts.
very true. But if I had, this is the biggest. I don't know. It's a big. I hope. I
Yeah.
hope this is what. I hope the talent that we have out there is represented on the field on Saturdays, and a lot of that is dependent on Gabriel being good and Gabriel being able to step up and having progressed in his abilities. But lacking Mims, which he had some drops last year, but just lacking a playmaker. I
We
think
thought Weiss was going to be a dude too.
Weiss, and I think just having that kind of, if I look at Mims had that dog mentality, and I was talking to a friend this week, and he said that Mims just had that ability to go get a ball, and just he was just big time. He's a big time guy. I'm anxious to see if we have that, because you need that in that group. So I'd say this is a wash at this point for me.
I think that's really well put. I think that's the right framing
It's
for
probably a
it.
wash at best because Mims
yeah.
was a highly drafted wide
Yeah.
receiver, and we have a bunch of athletes that have got to put it together, or the season could be tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd totally agree with all of that. I think you put it really well, Connor. I would say that the one thing that we have to remember is how disappointed we were in Mims, that he did not rise to the elite level we'd been used to and really expected out of him. Did not seem to be the go-to guy, and in crunch time dropped a lot of important balls. If you go back, not that this changes the whole course of the season and everything, but the season turns on a drop that becomes an interception by Mims against TCU.
That first drive.
And we can argue if it was actually a drop or an incomplete pass, which we think it was an incomplete pass, but still, you probably should just catch the ball. And that, to me, is indicative of just what type of season Mims had for us. Again,
Season
it could
turned
be
for him there, right?
It did, yeah, and it could be a bit of quarterback play. It's a combination of everything. We have a potential to be a lot better at that position if these guys can come to fruition. Last year we had potential that was completely unfulfilled. We mentioned those guys that were disappointments and really showed up as big nobodies in key situations, and at times that included Mims. So there's a window to be better for sure, but it's a big unknown at this point.
I'm worried that there's so many bodies that makes me think that nobody has stepped up in spring.
Been that guy.
There's
been
probably a
that
good
guy,
point to
but,
that.
But having the Texas kid come in, having Petaway come in,
We don't have a core group.
we don't know who it is, and the season's 4 months away, and it's one of those, like, you brought so many guys in to audition for that spot, and if we haven't seen anybody, I mean, obviously we're not in practice, but the spring game, it didn't seem like there was a dude like anywhere to be
No,
found.
I mean, you saw Gibson get targeted a lot, and he had a lot of
I mean, DJ
drops.
Graham probably looked the best.
I was
And
going to mention
he didn't
DJ.
really play
He's
until, like, third,
he's my
fourth quarter.
sleeper. I if I'm going to say someone I think I'm buying cheap, I'll invest in him with a big opportunity upside. I think he could really come through.
I like DJ Graham, yeah.
Yeah, Freeman too.
Yeah, Freeman too.
Yeah.
Big
Freeman's
speed.
Yeah, but I mean, how many balls has he caught in his OU career? Like a couple.
How many targets has he had
Yeah.
though?
I mean, he's a jet sweep guy, you know. Which
Freeman,
I'd love to see that play not happen, but maybe twice a game.
Freeman's got really good
Over
speed.
Two
He-
key times. Yeah.
He is a more athletic Stoops, but obviously can't be as reliable yet
Right.
because he hasn't had the opportunities.
He can take contact.
But he is
better than
he is a
Stoops as
quote
well.
upgrade from Stoops in terms of
Athleticism. Yeah.
Same
Hard to
size.
beat brains though, and I'm not saying he doesn't have brains, but Stoops sure has football brains.
Now this is slightly off topic, but I didn't want to forget it, so I'm going to bring it up now. Team speed has been something we've talked about. It is through the roof compared to what we've had in years past. A lot of kids are running track in high school now, and we have at least 5 guys on the team that are sub like 10-4, 10-3, 100-meter guys, and that is blazing fast. That's not just fast. That is like a bunch of Hollywood Browns
Yeah.
technically on the field. You've got Gentry Williams that, as long as he clears medically, most think he's going to be a starting corner. You've got Robert Spears Jennings, who had some shoulder surgery, but he is the same kind of guy. Thompson, the transfer from Texas. Petaway is the incoming freshman. Sawchuk, and the kid from Michigan is also a super speedster. But I mean, we have not had 5 guys. Like, if you wanted to put a track team together or a 4x100 relay from the OU football team, they could legit compete in college athletics. I mean,
That's a great point. That's a really strong point.
And it goes a long way today, and
and if you want to,
especially in Levy's offense.
if you want to circle back to how it fits schematically with the old Baylor system or whatever, if you can have 2 guys on the outside vertically that take the top off the defense, that opens up so many passes for kids in the slot and tight end and the running game. I mean, if Gabriel can just hit on some deep throws that he missed last year.
That's a big if.
Yes.
It
But
is.
if he can, it drastically changes how you have to defend us, and we
Oh.
will just gash people with the run game, and
Open
then you
up
bring
the
your
field.
safeties up, and now you're trying to cover, like I said,
Track
elite
stars.
track speed guys going
Yeah.
deep. You just can't do it.
Well, and what helps there, and this is something that you look back at really great OU offenses, and there's a lot of components that went into that with a lot of talent across the board. But everything looks easier when you're really good, and when you've got really good people all around you. And if you're Hollywood Brown, or if you're any of the Blitnikoff finalists that we had,
Westbrook.
that from Westbrook, a winner, and obviously CD, tremendous players. I'm not taking anything away from any of these guys, but if you're Baker or Kyler or Jalen, and you've got everything else working in your favor the way you do, if I had the arm strength, I could hit a lot of those passes, because you're just saying, I'm going to throw the ball, you're going to run fast, go get it, and we're going to score a touchdown. And so those things start to snowball in our favor when everything else is working really well. And if you and it really helps if you've got extremely talented guys, and if you just have extremely fast guys, because I remember playing many opponents that were not that talented, but they had fast guys and they could throw the ball up and go get it, and you're like, they're behind us again. Here we go.
I mean, look at Tavon Austin against us in
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah.
Like running away from us.
All the time. So
I mean, look at
it
the
helps
Lockets.
a lot.
All the Lockets at K-State were just like
Lockets.
they would
All
just
the
get
Lockets.
behind
Going
everybody,
back for so
and
long.
the ball would just fall.
Well, and
They just run underneath it.
even Hollywood. Hollywood was not by any means just phenomenal player.
Yeah.
Like
Small
Hollywood's
guy.
getting
No, he didn't
around
have great
people.
hand. He did not have great hands.
Bad route runner.
Yeah.
Not a great route runner. He's not a
Yeah.
bad route runner.
Yeah,
Just
but
not
not
great.
great.
Not elite. So yeah, it's
So you can run under a ball going really fast and you're past your guy.
Mhm.
It's easy. to
or
score a lot
catch
of
one over the
touchdowns.
middle and
Yep.
run around.
It's
people.
kind of like, unfortunately, who's back for Texas, Xavier Worthy, same type of guy. I mean, how many times did he get behind us?
What a weird deal with him,
Specifically,
too.
2 years ago.
As many times as he's been like he's going to transfer and all that, I gotta hope that there's a lot of friction there that will come back to haunt them. We'll talk more about Texas in a bit.
All right, let's move on to the tight end / H-back position.
Okay.
We've been really super thin.
Downgrade.
We've got bodies, but they've been injured. Not a lot of people practicing. We're even moving like defensive ends just to play tight end and practice, and
quarterbacks.
quarterbacks to tight end. So really, we've only got one to talk about, and that is a Austin
Boomerang.
Stockner.
The boomerang. He's the only thing that gets us to be only a downgrade and not a oh my god downgrade at this point.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So what? I would agree.
Replacing Willis is going to be hard to do because he was
Yeah.
He just did it all.
yeah, he did everything.
Why are we so thin at that group though?
We're
We
just
have-
thin from injuries.
Okay, so Llewellyn injured, and who's the other one?
The Smith kid.
The Smith kid was going to play. He had a club on his hand and
Yeah.
caught a touchdown in the spring game.
But there's another
Um,
guy that we is Llewellyn.
Caden
and-
Helms.
Helms.
Caden Helms. Again, they're young and they're athletic. Llewellyn's more.
Them
of
not
a,
getting on the field tells me they can't block.
Well, no, they've been hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know what their injuries are, but they did not get a lot of spring ball. And Llewellyn is more of a inline tight end. He's going to be your blocker, release,
Catch and
catch
run.
pass. And Caden Helms is more of an athletic tight end that you can put in a slot like a Mark Andrews or a Gresham-ish. I mean, I'm not saying he's like those guys, but
Yeah.
role.
but that's his role.
We just
you
got
just
the kid
don't know
from
what they
Michigan. Michigan State.
You just know what they can do.
Didn't we get a transfer from?
We did, but he's a project. I think he's a quarterback turned tight end.
Nice.
I mean, Blake Bell.
Blake Bell, yeah,
So an NFL guy, I like it.
yeah.
We've
got-
I didn't like the way we had that position set up last year though.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah, I
first
don't-
year we haven't been able to really use.
I don't know if Lebby. I don't know if that's a big thing in Lebby's.
Right.
thing.
Right, that's what I was wondering is if that's not a big position
Not
to
a
worry
focus.
about
Yeah, we
because
didn't have
it's
a
not
true
a
fullback
focus.
because
Yeah.
I mean, Braden
Braden
Willis
Willis ran from the backfield most of the
yeah,
time.
the H
Yeah.
back, quote unquote.
Which I'll give Lincoln credit for. He weaponized the fullback
oh
position.
my God. He
Oh,
did.
absolutely did.
Yeah, Dimitri Flowers was one of the
All of
best template.
A great
Anybody he
innovation.
had at fullback was a
Yeah.
weapon.
He always was able to use that in a way that could just gash a defense.
Well, because you just
You get
you
lost.
leave.
you
forget
don't
about-
account-
you
you
just
don't
forget
account-
the fullback. I
Yeah,
mean,
you don't account for him.
oh, the fullback's not going to go 35 yards down the field.
Right.
Oh, he is, and he's catching diving passes.
It's
what
like
do you
a
do?
it's like a wheel route that goes across the middle. It's very powerful when you use it right, and he used it right.
So, agreed, downgrade,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just multiple reasons. Now,
I don't have a lot of faith in Stogner.
To be fair, he could-
when he came on campus, I was excited. I thought, Calcaterra was really good. Then he had the concussion stuff. I thought Stogner was going to be the heir apparent to the Calcaterra situation, and then he got hurt in that Kansas game. He had like a deep
thigh
deep
bruise.
thigh bruise
Yeah.
that ended up
Contusion,
costing him like 6 games or something.
oh, it got real bad. He had like
almost
a,
lost his leg.
he had an infection
Yeah,
and just
turn
the
into
whole.
staph.
which
Yeah.
is crazy.
I think he lost 30, 40 pounds and just.
he just I watched a couple South Carolina games mainly because him and Rattler were there and the coach I don't know,
Spurrier.
blank out,
Beamer.
yeah,
Oh, Beamer.
Beamer.
I said Spurrier.
So I
He used to
I watched more. I probably watched 5 or 6 South Carolina games last year, and it didn't seem like they used him at all. They would use him inside the red zone maybe to try to get a touchdown inside the 10 even, but it doesn't seem like he was a big part of the offense. So that makes me wonder. And I don't think Lebby's offense really uses the tight end as a catching position as much as
Yeah.
previous we've had, and so that it's overall downgrade based on depth because of injury. We don't know what those guys are going to do, and then scheme.
I
So,
agree.
Next position.
All right, we're gonna go. You want to go individually offensive line or
No, let's
offensive
do it
line?
as a
Let's do
unit.
the unit.
Okay,
Let's do a unit.
so probably Walter Rouse, which is a Stanford transfer, started like 40 games for Stanford. From all
Big
accounts,
guy.
he's a solid guy, right? I don't know that he's like a first, second round, third round guy, but he knows what to do, and he's physically developed, and he'll hold down, which for us having a lefty is not the blind side, right? So
but he's got to be smart because he went to Stanford.
correct. Then you've got probably
like that.
Savion Byrd playing left guard, who did really well in the bowl game, particularly in like the running game. Everyone kind of struggled in the passing game against
Right.
Florida State.
He's kind of a mauler.
But the problem with him, and what's interesting is, I'm going to say he was 305, 310, something like that for the Florida State game. And at like the beginning of spring ball, he was like 278, and the coaches were like, WTF, dude. Like, you lost 30 freaking
Eats at
pounds.
McDonald's or something.
Yeah, like the kid needs to be constantly eating right now half-price burgers at O'Connell's.
They're delicious
Okay.
burgers, by the
Oh,
way.
it's a
Had them
shout out.
tonight.
It's
Shout out to
out.
McDonald's.
So he
McDonald's.
needs-
O'Connell's.
so he needs to just eat as much as he can and get that weight back, because he's athletic and he's mean, which
Yeah.
we haven't had someone with attitude. It seems
Well,
like
I'd
for a
rather
while.
someone have
I
slimmed
don't know.
down.
Used to be a
But it's been a while.
They-
I mean, it's been.
yeah.
I
than
say a
to
while. It's
show
been
up-
3,
I don't
4,
want
5
him to
years.
show up as 40 pounds overweight and have to lose it. So
Correct.
maybe it's a better problem to have.
Okay.
I don't know.
So then we've got Andrew Rame, who is just inconsistent. He's solid,
Unproven.
inconsistent. He coming out of high school, he was highly touted, a lot of accolades, and he's just been
It's been hurt a lot.
a guy.
Yeah.
He's just been okay. Right guard, you're gonna have a combination of maybe McCade Matower, who played a lot last year and was just a guy.
A guy.
Caleb Schaefer, which was Miami, Ohio transfer, and he's kind of a big, ugly guy. Just he's a mauler. You probably hope he takes that spot because Matower is just a
He
guy.
didn't have the nasty.
Yeah, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
And right tackle, you have Tyler Guyton, who a lot think the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
If he puts it all together,
Saying body wise and all that,
just
he
as
could be a
athletic as you can be.
first-rounder. I mean,
So
Gabe was talking about on their podcast that they expect him to be worst case second
yeah.
rounder. Like.
So you potentially have
and that's the blind side
correct. You have
for now.
in a way you have 3 starters returning, if you count Guyton, Matower, and Rame. Maybe 4 starters if you count Bird because he played in the bowl game, and you're replacing the 5th guy with a guy that's had 40 starts at Stanford. So
okay.
Is this going to be a typical beat and bow situation though, where
Switch.
he's rotating guys in and out of there the first 3 or 4 games, and then they actually start playing well game 5?
Well,
I mean,
I ho-
it's
He's done it. His
it's
whole,
a trend
every time.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
every year.
That's
That's what.
we all
beat and bow's
hope.
done.
We all get frustrated at it. We're
Yeah.
like, how can you not find your 5 before September 1st?
But I think our complaints have been biggest when they've been weakest. So I think that he finds the guys sooner when they're really good. So hopefully he finds them sooner. I'll say, and I want to hear your guys' view and correct me or challenge this, but I'm going to say that is neutral with a higher upside.
that's probably good because we did lose technically a first rounder
Yep.
and
Kind of
a
a
third
surprise.
and a third rounder.
Yeah.
So
Wanya didn't play a ton though.
If you
but
could-
when he did, he was a difference maker.
but it was kind of the same deal where he didn't come in till Nebraska,
Right.
and you're like, why
Mhm.
isn't he on the field
Yeah.
And
before
Murray
that?
got picked up
He
as
was
an
in
undrafted
trouble
free
and
agent
stuff,
too.
though.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Murray.
So
Yeah,
3 guys that could possibly play in the NFL.
right.
Yeah.
I
And
would
then-
I would agree with Steve though. I would say
Yeah.
neutral with a higher upside
Because-
because of experience and because of
Talent.
talent.
Because you could say that Guyton could be a first rounder, right? So him and Anton Harrison are a wash, let's
Right.
say.
By
and,
by mid-season.
right, and you could say that Rouse could be a wash with Wanye Morris, because Rouse could be a third, fourth round type guy.
Yeah.
And then if Andrew Rame can stay healthy and keep it together,
Consistency.
he's a guy that could go too. So yeah, I'd say
And the center is the biggest position on the offensive line as far as
Oh, absolutely.
knowing where the ball, knowing where the protection is, and him having another season in the offense, he should be able to grow mentally
I'd say what's scariest
more than last year.
is if Rame can't stay healthy, which he hasn't shown that he can do.
Correct.
Our backup situation at center
Did not look good. In the
does
spring
not
game.
look good. Nate Anderson, ironically, was the highest rated O-line of his class that came in. And he just hasn't become what he has. And if it's him, he has such a hard time snapping the football, which you would think by year like 4, you could snap.
Well, Rame isn't the
the
greatest
football.
either because we have a left-handed quarterback and he
You throw
snaps
to
it
his
low and right.
hand, yeah.
And so we talked about this last year, multiple games. The Dylan Gabriel is standing there waiting for the snap, and the ball comes low and right. He has
Making
to
that
catch it
weird
and
adjustment.
then turn across his body to the left to make the pass.
Yeah.
And
Or to do an RPO.
Mm-hmm.
It just missed the timings all
That's
messed.
where it's
Yeah.
probably worse is when the timing
Yeah.
in RPO. Yeah.
But if it's not Nate Anderson, because a lot have speculated that the true freshman Bates that's come in, he's got an attitude.
he's nasty.
He's strangely, he's always wanted to be a center, which I guess
Hmm.
isn't a thing that kids want to do. He loves Creed. It's his favorite player. He tries to emulate Creed as much as he can. But I don't think it's ever ideal to have a true freshman center. And if that's the case, then you're going to have a guard or a tackle probably start making the calls,
Uh-huh.
right? Because the freshmen just
Doesn't know him.
can't process all that.
But that's not a big thing to me. I mean, you're snapping the ball, and if the guy to the right of you or left of you is having to make the call, who cares?
Well, but I don't know. I guess I don't know enough to say.
If
Okay,
it's a
what
big
if
deal or
it's
not.
what if it's the right tackle? What if it's Guyton, right? Can he get that information to the other side of the
To
field?
Rouse,
Maybe at
yeah.
home. At home, maybe.
Right,
Maybe you
on
can,
the
right?
road.
You're on the road. Maybe you can't get that information to who needs to
That's
get
good.
it.
Well, maybe Guyton tells the left guard or the right guard, and then Rouse, since he's smart because he went to Stanford, maybe he's relaying that to the left guard, and then everybody knows what they're doing because two of the guys on the ends
Right.
know what's going on and they can relay it to the
Yeah.
to the middle.
Well,
Well,
he's
Levy,
so
Levy only calls like 4 plays. So
that is true.
He's so smart, he'll probably be able to just work it out like with hand signals or telepathy or something.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so as a whole, what do we think offensively?
I'm still with. Offensively. Oh,
I
boy.
think it's neutral. Levy has to be better.
I'd say
Upgrade.
slight upgrade.
Upgrade.
Slight upgrade with
Slight
the
upgrade.
expectation that maybe not even slight, maybe an upgrade, just in general.
Yeah.
I say
upgrade.
potential upgrade, but I think as it stands, neutral.
No, I'd
You're
say
gonna
Like
make
the
him-
ceiling, the
you're gonna make
ceiling
it
is
prove it.
higher.
TBD.
The ceiling is higher than it was,
For
but
sure.
I don't expect it to.
So we
get
all
there.
agree. Do we all agree the potential's higher?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
ceiling's a lot higher.
The wide
And
receiver position is.
I'm gonna
so
say.
key. I
I'm gonna
agree.
say it's an upgrade.
I agree. If you get one or two guys, you get a Nick Anderson, you get Andrew Anthony from Michigan to be a guy, right? That's a legit deep threat. Maybe it's Thompson that's a transfer that's a deep threat on post routes, or Petaway who's a freshman coming in. You get somebody to hit. Two guys have to hit, and the offense is improved from last year.
So I'm gonna say it is a
But
moderate.
if the
upgrade,
receivers
but it's an
are
upgrade.
if Farouk doesn't take the
Sure.
next step,
No, yeah.
Gibson doesn't catch passes, Nick Anderson
Absolutely.
can't stay healthy, Angelo Anthony isn't who we hoped he was from Michigan. It's a whole different ballgame.
I think we know what will if you come from the future to tell us it goes wrong, we'll know where it goes wrong. Other years you'd have to be a head scratcher like, oh my God, you're telling me this offense wasn't good. What happened? Injuries? What happened? We'll know. We know what won't work.
You know what I
in
say
this
to all
one.
this? Run the damn ball.
Running damn ball.
Yeah.
If these guys are more
With
maulers
those guys,
than pass
yeah.
blockers,
Knock them down
you've got
and run the ball.
at least 3 running backs that can be good between Sawchuk, Barnes, Majors, and Hicks. If 2 of those guys can be really good, you should just run the damn ball.
And
Not to mention the clock control If
Yeah.
they've
Oh, yeah.
learned in this offseason how to use the clock correctly as opposed to last season, that
Which
was
we taught a
trash,
course on. Not many people showed up.
That's right.
then
yeah.
then we should be able to run the ball, and you should be able to score 4 to 5 touchdowns a game, just
And control
that
the
way.
clock.
Controlling the clock. You score 28 points, 35 points, running the ball efficiently, and you keep your defense rested.
And optimistically, the way Levy called the game against Florida State was much better.
It was much better. It was much
And
better,
we
yeah.
ran the ball.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
That's a good
sure.
point.
I'm pretty sure
It was
it
like
was the most
70,
yards.
30.
It was the most
Was it
yards.
that much? At least
It
60,
felt
40.
Like, it felt like it was a lot.
Because
more.
we had talented running backs.
I know for sure though it was the most yards that Florida State had allowed in a game. So we
Right.
pounded the rock in that
Right.
game.
And that was
Right.
without. I don't think Harrison didn't play. And,
Right, correct.
And
I don't think Wanye
Morris
played.
didn't.
Right.
I don't think.
That's right.
I don't think either one of them played.
And Gray didn't play.
So
And
I'm going to
Graydon
say
played.
upgrade
And Graydon
to the tune of, on a scale of 1 to 10, call last year a 6. This is a 7, with an upside of it can be a 9. Last year's upside was probably an 8. If any of that kind of roughly makes
Yeah, that
sense.
makes sense.
I think
Yeah,
that's
that's fair.
fair. All right, let's move to defense.
Let's
Let's
do
get
it.
through defense.
Let's go
ready
through
to talk about
defense.
Texas.
All right, D-line as a whole. We're going to go with Rondell Bothroyd, transfer from Wake Forest. By all accounts,
Huge
like,
upgrade.
Huge, just
Huge
like,
upgrade.
Big upgrade.
yeah, massive.
Because he's
Jonah-
taking Grimes' spot, right?
Yes, Jonah Laulu, who came on at the end of the season, at the end.
Yep.
They've moved him inside. He's put on about 15 pounds. They want him to put on about 15 more pounds and get to that 295-ish range. They like his athleticism.
He looks good.
They think his kind of the way he jumps off the ball can be disruptive.
Well, he was disruptive from the defensive end position.
Then you've got Isaiah Coe, who, man, if he can play like he looks, I mean, he looks like Tarzan. So
He had a couple disruptive games last year towards
Yeah.
the end of the season.
Yeah, he was
I
back.
feel
He
like
was, he
came
was
on.
back there for sure.
And then on your other end position, you got a combination of Ethan Downs, R. Mason Thomas, and PJ Adebore, which you could argue is in the wrong order talent-wise,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Da-
Ethan
Downs will
Downs
start.
had a solid. He is a solid player, and it's an interesting position because R. Mason Thomas put on some weight but kept his athleticism. He's a great, third down rusher, right? And then PJ is just a freak athlete in general. And once more and more starts to click in his brain and his body develops more and more, his brother just went in the 4th round of the draft, and
From
literally
Northwestern, who was terrible.
literally across the board.
Did they
PJ
win one, didn't they only win one game last year?
I don't know.
They beat Nebraska.
They beat
in week
Nebraska. I
0.
think that was their only game.
It was.
Right?
Oh, no,
that they
but- okay.
won.
It wasn't on American
Here's-
soil, so it didn't count.
Here's some.
But here's I want to throw in there too. What about McCullough? Because he played D
Yeah.
end at Indiana,
Correct.
and they've got him in the cheetah position with
Harrington.
With Harrington,
Mm-hmm.
but I think in passing situations, you put McCullough in there as a stand-up, like a oboe or striker type thing, and he can destroy fools going at the pass.
Oh yeah,
going
if,
at the
if you want to get
quarterback.
into some minor X's and O's, 3rd and long, right? All of us have suffered, OU fans, 3rd and long for the last decade. It feels like.
Yeah.
But if you can if Harrington is manning up that cheetah position like it sounds like he is, and you can move McCullough, like you said, to a stand-up D end, and you've got R. Mason Thomas as a 3rd down specialist, and you've got an athletic Lualu and a Coe or somebody else in the middle, you're talking about 4 or 5 rushers. That quarterback is going to have 1.82 seconds to get rid of that football. So please, baby Jesus,
Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed, 3rd and longs this next year. We should not be in a panic mode and just assume, oh, it's 3rd and 12.
yeah.
Just give it to him. Just give him the first. Just give it to him now.
I don't want him to have a touchdown. Just give him the first.
But-
I mean, if we had this lineup against West Virginia last year, that's a win.
Yeah.
Because they don't go down the field and score. And
Well,
get a
and
field
you got to
goal.
think
Yeah.
about it from the aspect of it's not even just 3rd and longs. It's those 3rd and longs that turn into 4th and shorts, and people know they can. They know they can
we got
abuse
killed
Right, they got
That's
two down. They got 2 down territory,
point.
right?
Right.
Great point.
So-
4th and 3. We're Well, here's
Yeah.
they're
They're going to go for it.
Yeah.
That's a great point. So that's a complete upgrade.
That's
Yeah.
a complete upgrade.
Yeah, and
I
so
mean-
And now who have we lost on that line? We lost Redmond,
Redmond, which underperformed.
right?
Who else did we lose?
Is that it? I mean, Grimes is still there, which we thought after Game 3 in Nebraska.
Jordan Kelly's still there.
We thought Grimes was going to be a standout, and then literally he didn't do anything the rest. I think he had like 2 more sacks the whole season after the Nebraska game.
Okay, so last year, game 1, starting defense. You had Reggie Grimes, Jordan Kelly, Redmond, Jeffrey Johnson. We lost Jeffrey Johnson,
Yeah.
who was a solid player,
Yeah,
and Ethan Downs. So
Still a big upgrade.
yeah, big upgrade.
Big upgrade.
yeah, and
Biggest
just,
upgrade yet.
and just for the people,
I think by far.
Position group by far.
just for the people listening, if they don't follow all the players as close as we do, to put it in perspective, PJ Adebawore or Adebawore, however you say his name, Adebawore, his athleticism. So his smaller brother, went in the 4th round of the draft.
from a horrible team.
285 pounds, ran a 4.49. And literally everybody across the board is in complete agreement that PJ is a superior athlete to his brother.
Yeah.
So we have a chance, hopefully, if he grows and continues to develop and his body develops, to have a freak
Now,
athlete.
is he the kid when during recruiting was a 3-star at the beginning of his
And then jumped all the way
up
beginning
to
of
a
his senior
5.
year?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the season, he was an Army All-American or whatever they call that game nowadays.
Yeah.
He was an Army All-American and was just
Yes.
unstoppable.
Yeah, once he started going to camps, and that's where the rivals and 247s and all them really start ranking players, as, which you could say is good or bad,
Yeah.
however you want to look at it, because not all the kids make it to these camps and stuff. But once he started going there and people saw what he could do,
And we
he
offered him
just
we were the first to offer
he
him,
just
like,
shot through the
big time
roof.
school to offer him. Yeah.
So yeah, athletically,
That's awesome.
everything across the board. We're
Across
still
the board, an upgrade and potential upgrade across the board.
we still need D tackles
Yeah.
to either be anchors where they're not moved off the ball, or
I think
Disrupts.
Isaiah Coe and Jordan Kelly can both be that
Agreed.
guy in the
Yeah.
middle.
all right. So we're in agreement.
Great.
Defensive line,
That's
which
solid.
is
Good
massively
start.
important. And as I age, I used to be a skill position to just go crazy
Yeah, I
over
know.
all these skill guys we get. Your line is so important. All the old heads that used to talk about it, you're like, oh,
Yep.
what are you talking about?
In
This
the
kid's
trenches.
it's a
It's the
5-star.
trenches.
It's so
Yeah.
true.
We got 3 5-star wide receivers.
And
Why are
it's-
you talking
well,
about this
and
guy?
it's really true in championship level football too, and down the stretch, it's really true. Following Ian, what's his name? The guy that breaks down football. Forgot. He's a Texas guy.
I don't follow Texas guys.
Well, he's really good at breaking down football. Pull up a second look, and he was talking just recently about how in the trenches how important it is. D-line is everything, and how it's really important in championship football. You
I mean,
can
we've
win
seen
some
him- we've
games,
seen him for 15
but
years.
Ian Boyd,
With
you got to
the-
follow him. You got
With
to
the
look at his
Bamas
stuff.
and the
It's
Georgias
really
for
good.
the last 15
Yeah,
years.
absolutely.
Clemson.
Absolutely.
We've seen
When
SEC
OU
defensive
was
lines
great.
do.
When
Yeah.
OU was
and
great.
Ohio State's been
Yep.
churning out first-round defensive ends.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like it's going out of style.
They make everybody else look good.
Yeah. Your corners.
Yeah.
If you're a
You're-
corner,
Yeah.
if you're an elite corner getting recruited, go make a defensive end your best friend.
Exactly.
And bring him with you.
He's going to make everything
Because he
so
will
much
make you-
easier on
He
you.
will make you so much money. It's not even
Yes,
funny.
exactly.
All right, let's move
It's a good segue to corner. It's a good segue.
let's go to corner.
quarterback, Yep.
We've got Woody Washington, who is a very solid player. Good player.
Yep.
I think he's locked down.
Looks good in a
On
uniform.
the other side, you have a combination of, we're hoping to Gentry Williams, I think, just from athleticism and talent. He had the scary health
Was he a
issue.
redshirt freshman now?
I don't know if he redshirted last year or not.
I think he did.
I don't think he played more than 4 games.
I don't think he did.
I
either.
don't know. I think he played in all 12 games.
You think?
Yeah, because you put
Special
a lot of these skills in
teams?
special teams.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. And, what's, not to get off topic, but red shirts are kind of funny because the way kids are now,
They're expected to be there 3 years.
they're all
and
expect.
all
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm going to play the next 3 to 4 years when they say it on their
Right.
commitment video, right? And the way you can play 4 kids a game or a season and not lose a red shirt, it's hard to track. So forgive us if we
well,
get some
it's also
red shirts
hard
wrong.
when you're so thin. and we needed help everywhere.
Yeah, we didn't have
Correct.
depth.
If it's not him, you've got Kendall Dolby, who is a JUCO kid, but he did win Defensive Player of the Year in his conference, which is nothing to
Yep.
look down on.
Yep.
You've got Josiah Wagner, who is a true freshman out of Washington State, who has exceeded expectations. I mean, I think they wouldn't have recruited him if they didn't like him, but I think he's come in and he seems to have like a real dog
Yeah,
mentality.
he's physical, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got Makari Vickers, another true freshman who's
Super
just an
fast.
elite player out of Florida, and I'm all for any DB skill position player that you're going to get out of Florida because they're just kind of a different breed down
Yeah.
there. They really are.
It's a place that breeds a lot of talent in
Yes.
that position. Very competitive.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of 3-star kids in Florida
Yeah.
who you move them anywhere else,
Right.
and they're
They're just competing
all-
with so many
Yeah.
people that are so elite.
All right, so there we go. Let's throw Cheetah in there because that's really like
Yeah,
a nickel spot,
definitely.
right? So Justin Harrington, who I'm not gonna lie, I've been a
disappointing
huge
last year.
fanboy of because I love track speed. His mom and dad were both college sprinters. He's like 6'2", 215.
He looks awesome in a uniform.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Yep. One of the first guys off the bus type of deal, like you're saying. It sounds like he has put it all together. And it's kind of an interesting story for him because, remember, he entered the portal.
Yeah.
Sat out like half the season
Yeah.
2 years ago.
And
Weird.
I don't know, just
And then had
didn't.
a heart-to-heart with Brent to come
Right.
back.
And Brent let him come back on, but not on
Brent
Scully.
wasn't going to let him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's- yeah.
Wasn't going to let him come back on. So he's fought his way back, and good for him if he's earned that,
That says
spot.
a lot. That says
It
a
does.
lot.
Good character.
Yeah.
So, to what Lucas was saying, if Harrington holds down that spot, McCullough
He has to get on the field.
has to get on the field,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So before we transition from McCullough having to get on the field, what do we think about corners? Woody Washington, Gentry Williams,
Give us last year's.
freshman.
Jaden Davis.
All right, starter,
Transfers.
game 1 last
DJ
year.
Graham.
Jaden Davis, Woody Washington. Woody Washington's backup was DJ Graham, who we talked about as a receiver now. And Jaden Davis's backup was Kendall Dennis, Joshua Eaton.
Who have both left.
But we also replaced mid-season with a guy that was really good.
Colden.
Yes.
Colden.
CJ Colden, which he didn't get drafted.
Man, he
Should've
should have
stayed.
came back.
Should've
Undrafted
stayed.
free
Big
agent.
Should've
mistake.
He probably coming back another year and doing what he did the last 6 games of the season. He's probably a late second, mid third guy if he replicates what he
Well,
did
he's
those
at
last
least a
6 games of the
drafted
season.
person.
Oh,
isn't he?
if you have a Colden
Woody Washington
slash Woody Washington corners, yeah,
in his
please,
second year in
lock
the
it down.
system.
Yes.
Yeah, it really sucks that it sucks kind of that the NFL doesn't have the NBA system where you can
Yes.
put your name in
and come
and
back out.
then if you don't, if I don't know what does the NBA have to do it. It's like a couple weeks before the draft,
you can find out and pull yourself back out.
Is
Yeah.
it? I thought it was even if you weren't drafted high enough.
Is that
Or-
No, I don't think
it's
not
not
in
that
the
late.
NBA. I don't think in the NBA you can do that.
It's something like maybe a month before. There's a window that you can go back to
Yeah,
college.
we'll have to
if-
look
if
that
you
up
talk enough
technically to see what it
scouts.
is, but you definitely have.
You talk enough to scouts
an
and they
exit.
say, hey, you're like a 7th rounder, maybe undrafted free agent.
Mm-hmm.
You're better off putting your name in or going back than they can.
What
But
makes me
in the
scratch my-
NFL, it doesn't let you
Which
do
is
that.
so antiquated that
I
you can't
know.
do that, right? We're here for the kids, right? We're here
Right.
for
Yeah.
the student
success,
athletes.
yeah.
Right.
Success.
What makes me scratch my head with that is you have Jay Valai, who is this amazing recruiter apparently, and guy who recruits, general recruits, offensive
other
recruits
positions,
love.
right.
What was the conversation that was had with CJ Colden to not?
You
be able
never
to
know.
go and
You
say-
never know a
I
kid's
mean,
personal situation.
He may
Yeah.
have a kid or something and just need to provide for his
He,
family.
he
That's
may
a
have
family,
he
yeah.
may have a bad
Who knows?
influence, or it could just be a mistake, right?
Or he may
could
just
have
be like,
people.
I'm tired of college.
It could be all
Well,
these
that's what's
things.
so
It
frustrating
could
that
be
you
someone who
can't-
says
you can't
you
come
can't
back.
find out because he
Yeah.
could have gotten somebody that on decent information, decent hunches says you're going to be drafted maybe late, and he wants to take the money, and then that night after night rolls on to the draft, and all of a sudden you're not drafted, and the poor kid is sitting there going, "Man, I really wish I would have
Yeah.
done
And
something
you know how you
different."
I
can
could have gone back to OU and,
Yeah.
and
Been
I'd
a
have had
star.
that. That's my starting job.
And
No,
you
they
can
got
get,
paid next year.
and you can
Yeah.
get around that really easily because the timing of the draft and all these different things. he could have been going through spring ball while still being evaluated by
Yeah.
the NFL draft.
Yeah.
Right? And
Partial mistake there.
and then the moment spring ball ends, there's a little bit of a lull, and then the draft comes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not these players aren't
They aren't thinking.
they're not getting some
strategically.
advantage
Yep.
per se by
Yeah.
yes, they get extra training for like the combine or something, but it's not a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Let the kid practice. Let him see where he's at on the team. If he gets drafted, great. He can make that decision. Oh, I went 7th round. No, I'd rather stay.
Baseball has been doing this for
Oh, yeah.
a century.
Yeah.
Literally. If you get guys will get drafted in like the 6th or 8th round. I mean,
Yeah.
baseball goes what? How many, Connor?
Like
30.
25 rounds, 30.
Oh, it's a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
30.
I mean,
think
you
it's
can
30
get drafted in the 18th round and just
Right.
say, "No, I'm going to go
Right.
back and play,"
Yeah.
and it's totally legal in the NCAA eyes. How is that
Right.
not the same?
The
in
pool is a
football?
lot bigger in baseball, though.
Well,
it's
it's
just
pool of
stupid that
players is
a
all.
rule
It
for
is. It is
baseball
silly.
It is,
and
and they- and
basketball
they come
is
in-
different than football. It
For
makes
sure.
no sense.
It,
for
no,
sure.
it doesn't make any sense except when you look at the stakeholders. It makes a lot of sense for, and so teams like the NFL, they love this, and existing players in the NFL, they love this, and so it works to their advantage, to the disadvantage of college
20 rounds
athletes
in
who are
baseball.
not maximizing their optionality. This is a case in point. Poor kid could have done something different. He's not getting the best advice here and finding his best route to figure out exactly where he's going to be and keep his options alive. He just chooses a path that cuts off all of his other
I'd really
options.
like to find out what his story is on
Yeah.
what he thought he was going to be drafted.
What his projection was.
Projection was, and if he had any life circumstances, like Jimmy Wilkerson.
Right.
You know, he left
Right.
early because he had a family. You know, his family was down and out.
And we wish him the
And they needed
best.
money.
We hope he.
Right. He got picked up by the Vikings, I think.
I mean, I think Colden probably has a good chance to stay in the league,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He's got a
Yeah.
chance.
He's worse.
You always want to be drafted,
But
but
he's got a chance.
That he could have come back.
He's
and
got a
literally
hard time.
Made himself
Yeah.
a couple $1 million.
Money he could bank forever versus money that it's going to be a good job for a while.
And in the NIL area, not that he's like a superstar,
But he could get something.
He could definitely get enough.
Pay the bills.
Yeah, to live on to where it wouldn't have been any major.
His back half of
Major
last
deal.
season was spectacular.
He,
and
I mean,
if
he was the
would've
best
built,
corner on the squad.
If he would have built that
If you-
over 13 to 15 games,
Yeah.
I feel
Oh yeah,
very
if
bad
you
for him.
if you told me that we had a Woody Washington, Colden starting corners, that's
Let's lock down.
I mean, we're top 20 in the country at corner at that point.
very straight. So, but still, okay. Back to
All right, back to okay.
so is that upgrade?
upgrade.
Yeah.
I'd say upgrade.
I'm going to say neutral because
Neutral.
you're
Yeah.
replacing a guy that we thought would be really good if he's still here.
We're including Cheetah in this, though, right? Harrington was
Well,
slow at Cheetah last year.
Sort of. We're gonna let's move
I
Cheetah
thought we were
into the.
including Cheetah.
To me, Cheetah's a safety position.
Well, Cheetah's both. The reason I say it's both is because McCullough's.
Bigger. And
His-
he's going to be
his-
on the
his
line. He's going to be
diversity.
in and
Well,
around the
okay.
line.
Let's do this then. Let's talk safeties and let's roll all the backfield
All right.
in together.
All right. So corner. What do we think?
Upgrade.
Upgrade.
Slight. Slight upgrade.
I'll say neutral.
I'm going to say neutral.
I'd
Just
probably say
because that other
neutral.
position we don't know.
Yeah, if we're
yet.
not including
Yeah.
Cheetah, I'll say neutral.
we don't know who that other corner is going to be.
Higher upside neutral.
All right. So last year starters, game 1, Billy Bowman, Key Lawrence. This year we should have Billy Bowman, probably Reggie Pearson, which is a transfer from Tech, played a lot of football, solid guy. I think those are solid starters. Bowman, if he has a good season, Bowman's probably gone.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
probably
yeah.
need to hope. I mean, not hope, but
Yeah.
Yeah, you
probably
hope he's
need,
gone.
You probably need to turn that position over a little bit.
Yeah.
With who we have in the
And you hope he
ranks.
has so much success that he's gone.
Yeah, and the real advantage that we have this year is the depth,
Yeah.
because you've
Peyton
got
Bowen.
a starter last year in Key Lawrence, right, who is probably a backup this year, and you've got 5-star Peyton Bowen. So athletically, depth-wise, the whole nine, I say it's a massive upgrade.
It's a big upgrade.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're also leaving Justin Broyles off that list because he didn't start.
which
you
is a
didn't
huge
have-
upgrade.
Right. You didn't have him starting as the game 1 from last
There is
year.
never.
Right.
But
if you,
that's a
But
huge
what about
upgrade.
White?
that's
That's
linebacker.
linebacker.
Oh, okay, yeah.
If
Well,
you,
he was
if,
Cheetah. No, he was Cheetah. We'll get to that.
No,
if
We'll
you
get to that.
look,
Yeah,
if
he
you
was
look
cheating.
up addition by subtraction, it is Justin Broyles' face.
Poor guy.
Right
Don't know
there.
the guy. Everyone says he's a great guy. But,
Yeah,
but
no-
we're just
No knock on the guy's personality, but
Yeah.
football wise, talent wise,
100%.
dude,
100%.
So upgrade. I don't think
Upgrade,
we need to
massive
discuss
upgrade.
it much more.
Okay, so let's mix in Cheetah just because it's such a
Uh-huh.
versatile position.
Uh-huh.
So Cheetah, for people that don't know, is a third corner or a third safety
It's a Roy back.
ish. The Roy back for the people that really know what we're talking about.
Which is all of our listeners.
Which is exactly.
Yeah.
Because we only have the best listeners.
I don't know. Shout out to my boss Raj, massive cricket fan. I'm missing a meeting with him right now, but he said he'd give us a listen. So
Awesome.
Raj,
Nice.
we'll talk about
How
this
many
some other
days
time.
are they playing in the game that he's watching?
Oh, he's in a meeting. He's not.
Oh.
He's not watching.
Well, cricket, that's the sport that I don't understand the slightest. 'Cause
Same.
They play multiple days.
Yep. So
I'll never get that one.
we'll have Raj on sometime.
All right.
Okay, so Cheetah position / nickel / third safety, whatever you want to call it. We touched on Justin Harrington earlier. His backup coming out of spring, doesn't mean it'll be this way out of fall, is McCullough, which was the stud transfer from Indiana. Big guy. I mean, Harrington's a big corner already at 6'2", 215. McCullough's 6'4", 6'5", 225 that you've got out in space.
He looks crazy.
I mean, if you put McCullough and PJ Atabore next to each other, and you can build a defense based
Yes.
on guys that look like that,
Absolutely.
you're Georgia.
Yes.
You're Bama.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's there.
So last year, Steve brought up Deshaun White.
Yeah.
You know what? We were really hard on the guy. He did okay last year.
He did okay last year.
He did okay.
He was another guy like Holden that like the last 5 or 6 games of the year, he really came around.
in
but
position. It started to click for him.
but he is no Justin Harrington / McCullough.
No.
Athletically. Production, we don't know.
Yeah.
McCullough, you can say a little bit because he played his freshman season, had a really good season in the Big Ten. Mostly rushing, though, wasn't in space covering guys. So I think that's why you want Harrington in a way to just be better, right? Because that's just another player that you've got that's really good compared to another player, right? McCullough's a good player. So if he's getting beat out, that's good for us.
And he's also a sophomore this year. So if Harrington, as a senior, upgrades like we hope that he
Having
does,
been in
it's
the
not a
system.
big deal that McCullough is behind him
Right.
this season because then he's still got the
But
next coming up.
as you alluded to, McCullough is still one of the best players on the defense. So you can't just have him not on the field.
Right.
So that's how this ties into the Cheetah / linebacker position. Because at linebacker, you've got Denny Stutzman and Kanik, projected starters. Whereas last year it was Ugwebu and Stutzman.
Clear. Well, say, who else do we have?
Well, behind Kanik, you've got Kobe
Kobe
McKenzie,
McKenzie.
who that
Right.
sounds like it's a
Right.
50-50.
And
Right.
in camp,
Little-
they're raving about Kobe McKenzie.
So
Little different players.
still, you're looking at depth, and you're looking at talent and maturity. With Canucks maturity and everyone else, even Stutzman maturity, you're just looking at an upgrade.
It's
Yeah.
an easy
Yeah.
upgrade.
Yeah,
It's a
and Ugwebu,
complete
upgrade.
upgrade.
Ugwebu just probably should have stayed at like defensive end or something.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Alex
Or should
Grinch.
have gone to somewhere like a Texas State where he's at to go play.
I
Yeah.
think they used Ugwebu wrong.
Correct.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
he went to Houston.
Oh, he
and
went to Houston.
just
yeah,
watch,
sorry. I'm thinking
they
about
will
Josh
use
Eaton.
him.
Yeah.
Hopefully for him,
You're
they
right.
use him correctly.
I think he was
and
kinda
I hope
out of
he just
position.
blows it up. I really
Right.
do. I hope
I do. I
Ugwebu
agree.
just destroys it.
Me too, because we don't play Houston.
Because he is
so-
a big, freaky athlete. And if they just put him on rush ends or something,
If they used Ugwebu
Like an oboe?
like we did oboe and striker, I think we would all be talking about. I can't wait to see what Ugwebu does this year.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that the Venables defense
He
had
couldn't
him
find
in the
the edge.
position
He
that they
couldn't-
wanted him to be
he
in.
couldn't contain
that
on the
we
edge.
wanted him to be in.
Yeah, and for as much as we gave up the edge last year, Ugwebu was the very incorrect choice to have at that position. And maybe he was the only choice. I don't know.
How thin we were. Yeah.
So
hindsight, looking back at last year, some of the personnel choices, hopefully it's just based on
Thinness.
who can we put out here that's probably going to be in the right spot.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Even if
That's-
he's not athletically
yeah.
good enough to be there, he's going to be in the vicinity of where he
Who
needs
messes
to be.
up the least, which is
Mhm.
probably a Broyles situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
know?
Oh, sure. For sure.
Yep.
Okay,
I think that was the story of last year is who's going to mess up the least.
So in this scenario, let's say Harrington locks down the cheetah. Stutzman got his spot locked down at the will. At the mic, you've got Kanik/McKenzie. What do you do with McCullough?
12 men.
I'm kind of surprised after me watching video of him at Indiana as a defensive end. It looks to me body type wise that he could have been a linebacker to me, which that works in the cheetah position. But he's not going to be a cover cheetah guy. He's going to be the rushing cheetah guy or the run stopping cheetah guy.
I think they're trying
he's not going to be a drop back guy to me.
adapt him into that, though.
That would fit the Roy
The reason
position a lot, though. Roy
It's
was
not just Roy, because these guys' body style are even superior to what Roy gave you. If you have a legit 6'5" guy
for sure
with a 7-foot wingspan type arms,
right.
if he can cover in space, you're talking about blanketing
Yeah.
the slot receiver. I mean, there's just nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Let's
if
do the,
that guy
let's do
can
the
do it.
defensive scale with the ceiling thing that we talked about on the offense earlier.
Okay. Overall,
So last year's defense was a
4.
was it a 5 with a ceiling of 7
that's
I was
fair.
gonna say 4.
last year?
That's fair.
Yeah, 4 to
This
4 to
year,
7,
I'm going to say we're a 7 talent with a ceiling of 9.
agreed.
Yeah. Would even
Don't-
say
What's a
it's
9?
leaning.
What's
a-
what's a
it's
9?
leaning
Don't
to
do
a-
it.
It's
Don't-
leaning to a 10.
Oh, he went
It's
there.
leaning
I don't
to a
think we have
10.
D tackles for a 10.
I don't think we do.
No,
either.
probably not. But
And
you
I
might look
love
back at
Stutzman,
these
but I don't
guys.
I don't think Stutzman
True.
can be a 10, and with the freshness.
It depends on what you mean
I
by a
think
10.
Stutzman. I think Stutzman can
I guess
be a
it
10.
depends on what you mean by a 10.
I think Stutzman can be a 9 because I don't think he's ever going to be fast enough that he could be a 10.
But
But
there
as
were
a
lots
unit.
of guys.
But
We've
as a-
had
as a
10s.
unit.
With
We've had
McKenzie-
units as a
with McKenzie
10.
and Kanik being so fresh, I think the linebackers as a whole can't get to
Rocky
10.
Kalmus's ceiling, just
Yeah,
looking at it,
but-
would never be a 10.
But back
Right,
then,
but he was a 10.
But he was
That's
a
what I was
the
going to say.
guys weren't as fast back then on the opponent.
But I think he's more athletic
Yeah,
than Rocky.
they were pretty fast. I mean,
I mean, they weren't like they are now.
they
It
were
wasn't
pretty,
that long
there
ago.
was a lot of talent in
20
the Big
years is a
12
long
back
time
then.
in the development of athletes.
I don't know. There was a lot of talent back
I
then.
would
in the
I
Big
would
12
bet you
especially.
I would bet you that Stutzman is a better athlete than Rocky Kalmus.
Yes.
And I think Rocky Kalmus would say that.
Right.
Yeah, but Rocky Kalmus was a true
He's a
football
baller.
player.
No, yeah, no doubt about
And
it.
I'm not saying Stutzman's
I
not.
totally
but
agree.
I think, like I said, I think Stutzman's ceiling is a 9, and I think the overall defense, because the linebackers do a lot in this defense, and having Kanik and McKenzie being as young as they are,
They'll make mistakes.
trying to figure it out, and having Stutzman not quite having the speed that I would like him to have, and then the other corner not knowing if that's going to be pass or fail. I think that the ceiling for this defense is a 9.
Well,
but they're coming in at a 7.
I like everything you're saying, and I don't disagree with any of it. The only reason I say this actually could be something we would look back on a surprise season and say it's a 10, if everyone hits on all cylinders, if people reach their potential really fast, with the combination of what we have to agree is one of the best defensive minds in modern football history, we would say that there's a 10 potential out there.
You're talking about a 99-2000.
Yeah,
Jump.
yeah, that kind of a jump. And yeah, that's a long shot, and we're splitting hairs to talk about
When
it.
you're saying that these guys get there really fast, I think there's so much youngness
Oh, it's very
on-
hard.
youngness in the positions of what I mean. The potential on a lot of these guys are 10. The Adibores and Canics and
Give him 2
McCullough.
years,
those
3
guys
years in.
are a 10
Absolutely.
potential, but I
Absolutely.
don't think at this age of all being
No, I'd say it's
freshmen and
really
sophomores
hard.
that they could get to the 10.
I'm
this-
saying it
this
can be
year.
done, but it's really hard.
What's a 9? A
And
top.
we also
Oh,
talked
25?
not 9 is top. No, 9 is person type 10.
I don't know if we can get to a 9.
I think if we get to a 9, we're a top 30 defense. Because
Oh,
what
I would say
what did we
9
finish
is
last
better
year?
than that.
Bad. I don't even want to talk about it.
I mean, I
I'd
don't know
say
that you can
9
make
is
that big
better
of a
than
jump in
that.
one season.
I think you can. I think you can with enough talent and
But
enough
we're
depth.
also got a really bad schedule.
I
Yeah.
think you can
So
with a combination
that
of
could help.
Yeah, for sure. All of it working
Because
together.
the Big 12
No.
should be down.
the track
Yes.
record of year 2 coaches, right? It's I mean, they're really Bob started it, right? Year 2.
Urban
Urban
Meyer,
did it.
Yep.
Tressel did it.
Yep.
Saban, I think it was Saban's 3rd year.
Meyer did it twice.
But there is definitely a year 2 bump that you get on your football team.
Yeah.
So it's there. The potential's there. If we can field a top 25 defense, it's a whole different. Just a
We
whole
don't have a
different
top. We don't have a top 25 defensive coordinator.
You're well.
Our head coach, if he was just
We
the
don't
defensive
know.
coordinator,
We don't
we have
know
a top
how
3
that's.
guy.
We don't know that dynamic though. So I
That's
would
true.
agree. Ted Roof is not, but the whole unit, everybody working together, I have to think there's a top 25.
Connor,
top
you're awful quiet
5.
over there. What opinions do you have about defense?
It's just holistically. I mean, there's a reason we've been seeing the transfer portal and the guys or the late transfers be on the offensive side of the ball. I think we're really getting it figured out on the defensive side. So I think it's a holistic upgrade. If I put a scale to it, I'm probably leaning more towards what we were at last year as a 4 with the potential of being a 7. This year, a 7 with the potential of being a 9. I think if you get to a point where we can sit here mid-season or late season and say, wow, we're tipping that scale to maybe be a 10, we're also sitting and talking about who we're going to play in the Big 12 championship and who's our playoff matchup possibly going to be.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's out of the question. I think this unit, if they can understand Brent's system and what he wants to do, or Brent and Ted's system, what they want to do, it's a force to be reckoned with. Depth-wise, starters the guys who are coming back, who are going to be starting, the Billy Bowmans of the world, and the guys behind him, like the fact that Key Lawrence had a bad year last year, and we're still going to talk about him getting rotation. I say bad in our standards.
A
and
starter who's now a rotational player.
Yeah, a rotational player. So I mean, that tells you the guys we brought in.
I want to point out that I don't want to see
excited.
Billy Bowman running back kicks.
Nope.
I don't care how prolific he was in high school at
I
it.
totally agree.
Him
And we didn't even talk about
him getting
special
injured
teams,
last year cost
but I
us
wanted to.
probably 2 wins.
Oh yeah.
Because
of
of the missed
yeah.
games from getting injured. He got injured on a kickoff. Kickoff.
Yep.
So I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
No matter how good he was
Yeah.
in high school at returning kicks, I don't want to see him returning
Well,
kicks.
the other thing, I agree with everything we're saying here. I think we're pretty much on the same page. It sounds like we have to think about also the schedule and complementary football. If the offense can do what we hope they can do, they're going to make the defense better. And we could look back and say, well, yeah, fortunately we didn't face a schedule like we'll face in the SEC, and a 10 in the Big 12 is a 8 in the SEC or whatever. But we have a potential to be better and higher, and especially if we can help each other out, including special teams. If we can just have good, consistent special teams play out of many of these same guys we're talking about, obviously, we can help ourselves to be so much better in so many other facets. Think how many times an offense looks great, and if you're really going to put truth serum in, you have to say, well, yeah, and honestly, the defense gave them a short field time and again. And that helps so much. I mean, it's so much easier to score from the opponent's 40-yard line than your own 30.
Yep.
So all of this can work together in a way that elevates or detracts a lot. We could see really good improvement in one unit, and the other unit just sucks and puts us behind the ball and behind the chain so many times that the poor guys just never have a chance to succeed.
I think there's no question. If there's a unit that underperforms this year, I'm gonna say it's offense.
Yeah.
I just have enough faith.
You have more faith in the defense
I do.
than you do the offense.
I do.
Totally agree.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of
I
question
know
marks on
you agree.
offense. And I know, it's going to echo what we talked about after the spring game about the lackluster we saw from that offense, or the lack of really just any sort of creativity or difference than what we saw in the season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to hope that there's a lot that's being worked on between, and I know we've said this, you have to hope there's a lot being worked on between now and that first game.
or the
even
defense made him
summer
look that way.
Yeah, so I mean,
Right?
we'll see. I think if I had to grade the entire team in this exercise that we're doing, I'm still saying it's an upgrade.
Oh yeah, solid upgrade.
I do think the defensive unit as a whole is a really big reason for that. Complementary football, we've preached it here, and it is a core principle that we have to establish, and more importantly, Jeff Lebby has to establish to really make not only our offense look better, but put our defense in good positions to perform and not being on the field all the time. So
Let's do a quick rundown of special teams
Yep,
because
yep.
the punting was horrific at the spring game. We have to hope that one of those guys can punt better. It seemed like every kick was off the side of the foot, and it was only like 35
Did
yards.
I tell you the day after doing it? I was on a walk with April. We're walking around, and we walked by. I almost filmed it. We walked by the stadium, and there's one guy practicing out on the practice field. It's the punter. Him and his girlfriend or someone, maybe a trainer or someone's filming him, and he is punting the ball like crazy. And so
Like
they
good
needed it.
or just
I couldn't
Oh,
tell
okay.
from it.
Just
It
reps,
seemed
multiple
good,
reps.
but multiple reps. Like it was kind of like his instructions were: you punt until your foot falls off. You just keep going.
And kicker,
So they saw it, I'm
on
guessing.
on the kicker, they've got Schmidt listed as second on the kicker depth chart. I saw.
I don't know if there's did he play? I don't think he played in the spring game.
Whoever the other kicker is.
So I don't know.
I don't know what's the other.
We didn't
kicker's-
kick field goals in
What's
the
the other
spring
kicker's name?
we didn't. Gavin
It's a interesting name.
Gavin something.
No,
Von Sean?
no. We have Schmidt, and then we have Reddy Mustafaraj.
Mustafaraj.
I like it.
But they've got him listed before Schmidt. On
Yep.
As place kicker?
Well, we have to
as a
have
kicker. So Schmidt's
consistency.
going to lose his job according to what we.
Huh.
Yeah,
according to what the
and
depth
as
chart
kickoff specialist.
Well, we have to have
Reddy.
consistency in all of those facets. Solid play, and we did not see that. What little we saw, we didn't see it in the spring
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, that was concerning.
They did kick. They kicked a field goal, didn't they? Didn't the offense kick a field goal?
I don't think
I
so.
don't recall.
I thought they
Did
kicked,
they? Yeah.
I thought
Did they
kicked a field goal
decide
in
to
the
kick
south end
one?
zone.
Yeah, that's right. They did.
Yeah,
they did.
I think they did. And they
Um,
and he made it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, because remember we were talking about the offense gets 3 points, but the
Right.
defense gets
Yeah,
2 points for
2 points.
making them kick a
What
field
is that?
goal.
Yeah.
Like how
Yeah.
stupid that was.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's pretty simple. You just don't punt.
There you go. You know I'm on
Well,
board
the,
with
the,
that.
The trend against us was obviously if it's anything less than 4th and 6, you're going for it.
Fourth
Right.
and 6
So
outside of our own
maybe- I like
25.
it.
Maybe we start
I
doing
like
that if we're at our 40 or in.
Well, to me, I
That-
don't
that
understand how
60-yard
Lincoln Riley didn't do that because he had the offenses to do that,
Yeah.
and he
Lincoln Riley
I-
could have
a big
won a
mistake
national
on Lincoln's decision making. So back to that, as a reflection of just everything we're talking about, upgrade, downgrade. I think it's a solid upgrade. What I hope is, and this won't happen exactly in the next season probably, if you look back at where we were under Riley, we were always obviously tremendous offense, one of the best offenses ever in several of those years. I was always a realist about offense because when I said OU was absolute greatness, I was absolutely right. There's no argument about that. When I would look at our defense, I was a complete homer. I was a complete dreamer. I was somebody who was hoping against hope that we were going to be good this year, that this is when we're going to put it together, and we continue to just flounder. What I hope is, in the coming years, starting next year and building on that, we get to be a complete team. And we don't lead and be defense forward, and offense is hopefully there. I hope we're just consistently good, and yeah, I'd love for us to be absolutely great at both things, but at least exceptionally good at both things would be wonderful. So complementary to one another, and one unit is just not having to pick up the slack for the other one. And I have to say, if I'm going to be honest, my fear is it's a flip-flop. We look down the road in 3 years and we say, wow, we are the best defense around, and our offense is always one we're just hoping for. We're always just believing and thinking it's going to be good, and we have good players.
My
And I'm
only
not saying we
caveat
can't
to
be,
that
but
is
I'm hopeful it's
we
not
have a
that.
Jackson Arnold.
Yeah, that's a great. No, I was thinking the same thing.
But we're
It-
facing tougher defenses in the SEC.
True. But we didn't have, and you don't have that position in defense. But yes, you've got a quarterback in Jackson Arnold and a foundation to build upon that hopefully puts you on a trajectory where you can have really solid, if not elite, offense to go along with what I believe can be, in the coming years, elite defense.
And it feels like Bill is back to, whether it be players becoming who they were supposed to be, or better evaluations, or whatever you want to call it. But the line has good young talent to move
Yeah.
forward with.
Yeah.
good young talent in the running back room,
Mm-hmm.
good young talent at quarterback. And if it is how they say or how a lot of people think, you can kind of find receivers anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you want to start.
That's a good
You
point.
got an O-line, you got a quarterback,
great
you got some running backs. Find me some wide receivers.
And have them flock here, and this be the mecca of where you come to
Yeah.
excel.
So I would rather have a defense that you can count on that keeps you in every game. You're in every game.
Yeah.
And have an offense that might be less than what we're used to here in Oklahoma standards than the other way around.
Yeah.
I got a question.
And hopefully even better.
A quick conversation on the future of the transfer portal. Do you think the NCAA leaves it as is, or do you think it goes back to you transfer, you sit out the year, and then
I don't think
then you can
that.
play, or goes back to where it's graduate graduate transfers can play immediately. You think it's like this from now on?
I think I'll predict that the only changes we see to transfer portal will be changes in time frame of when the portal is open and closed. I don't think we'll get to any. We'll never go back to setting out.
You won't see a regression.
I
I
think it
don't
goes
think so.
back.
I don't think
Like
so.
I say, probably 4 years from now, 3 to 4 years from
What
now.
makes you think that?
I think they'll see it too much as free agency, and that's not the spirit of the college experience. And that when you've got kids that I mean, how many we had some guys that transferred in and were here a year or two, and now they've already transferred out to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I think that personally for me, I don't like that as well as it's more limiting to kids. I understand, and coaches leave and all that stuff. Maybe they put in a provision that if your head coach leaves, not position coach, but if your head coach leaves, then you get that season to go somewhere and be eligible immediately to play. But I think it goes back,
Unless
in the spirit of the history of college football, that it goes back to where it was, to where you don't have kids jumping around as much as they do now.
unless you're here from Indianapolis, the NCAA,
Right.
Are you telling us what you want to see or what you think will happen?
Both.
'Cause
There's no way they go
I
back.
strong
They
don't want to
can't-
see
they
that,
will
but to
not
answer
go
your question,
backwards.
I don't think it will happen.
They
I don't
won't
think
go
they'll go
backwards.
backwards.
I think it goes. There will be too many instances of super teams being built on.
See, I don't think so. I think it goes the other way. I think there's too many votes against it. Now, I would say
The thing is, I
think you got it
don't
backwards.
think anybody likes it though. I don't.
Oh, I think a lot of people like it.
I don't think the presidents like it. I don't think the coaches like it. I think the coaches
No,
hate
no,
it.
I think you're right.
The coaches are having to
Re-recruit their own players.
It's already an extremely stressful,
Right.
long hours, tough job. Now, every year, constantly, you're trying to keep your team together.
Right.
It's hard enough to get 20 new freshmen.
Here's why it may or may not go that way. It's because the people you say don't like it are the Clemsons, Alabamas, hopefully someday the Oklahomas of the world.
Guarantee you Saban hates it.
They don't. Yeah, no kidding. You know why? Because he's got all the power. He wants it to go back to that. Now, historically, the NCAA has been completely captured and owned by those programs, and whatever they wanted, they got. That has not been the trend in the last decade, and I don't think it's going to change. As the power of the NCAA has been completely whittled away, I don't think there's any going back. And the exception to this is the Mike Gundys and
I was
the OSUs
literally about to
of the
say
world.
that is the exception.
That's
to the
where
rule.
he stands out as the weirdest guy in town.
He has not capitalized on it.
Because he hasn't capitalized on it. Everybody else, if you look at the rest of the Big 12, they love it. And deeper than that, they all support it and need it. I
bet
think
Brent
everyone
Venables
settles
I
in.
bet Brent Venables does not like it.
He may not like it because he's an old, and he
I'll-
may not like it because he has had a dominant position in recruiting a guy and keeping him captive. But I don't know if he ever has the power to get rid of it. I think, and that's what my question was this past week about the transfer and what's a healthy transfer portal. I think for big teams, it's few players that go in and out, and you have an even mix between the two. The teams that really capitalize and do well are the Kansas States of the world, the lesser programs who can attract a lot of people, and others who want to be an upstart, who want to all of a sudden get good at football, and they're going to try to attract a lot of guys
TCU
in.
last year.
TCU last year, SMU potentially.
I
Big
think
market
you'll have more
teams.
situations like what's happening in Colorado now,
I
not
think that's a
not
real
to that
rarity.
extreme.
Yeah,
I think that's super extreme.
Okay.
But I don't think it would be that crazy to have coaches come in and 30 kids leave at multiple schools, and people start seeing that this isn't the college
haven't
football
seen
we
anybody
grew up
do
with
that,
and
though.
we like.
I mean, that's so
I
extreme.
know that's an extreme.
No,
I'm saying-
Colorado's in the 50s, 60s.
Right, but I'm
Ole Miss,
talking like,
Ole Miss has had 30 something. Arkansas had 30 something. A&M's had 30 something people
I think
leave.
in the spirit of college football, and like this may just be nostalgia, I don't know, but I don't think it's good for the sport that it's a free agency
Agreed.
for all these kids to go
I don't. I
and
disagree.
immediately be able
I don't
to play.
I don't completely disagree. I don't think this is necessarily the optimal for the good of the sport. But then again, I'm going to tell you the good of the sport means we have 64 teams ish, around 64 that are in their own division, and that we have a lower division, and we don't have 130 some teams playing each other as if they're all in the same league. That's not healthy for the sport. So what I see potentially is a separation of the two, and then you might see a rule for those top 64 that's different
I
than
could
what
definitely
we see
see that.
today.
yeah, I agree with that. That was one of my 2 points I was going to make was
You've got 4 Power 5 conferences.
you might have
Yeah.
conferences.
Or
or, well, I guess it'd be 4 Power 4 conferences.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
4 16-team conferences.
right.
You get
And
rid
they,
of the,
they have their own rules, and it's
Yes.
not. And you can't. You
Go
you,
within that league. You might
can
go down to
trans-
lower
You can
one.
transfer to SMU's. You
Right.
can transfer to the
Oklahoma
to the
State.
San Jose's states, but you can't transfer
To Clemson.
Bama to Ohio State
Right.
and play right away.
I
you
could
have
see
to
that.
sit that year.
Non-compete type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could see that.
that's what I personally would like to see.
Now,
Yeah.
what you might also run into legally, though, is the trend again is against any of that market protection, and that antitrust case is getting really strong against any of that. So that's a headwind to it as well.
Let's not get the government involved.
The government's already involved.
I would say
Congressional inquiries begin tomorrow.
I don't think anybody knows how to quote fix it, but I think an easy start would be somewhere along the lines of at least a timeline in between your transfers, right? Like you get a one-time, hey, I went here, I don't like it, I don't like the state as much as I thought, I don't like the campus, I don't like my coach, I can go somewhere else. But once you do that, you've got like a 18-month, 2-year period before you can transfer again. Or as a true freshman, you've got to at least go through 3 seasons of practice. So if you're an early enrollee and you go through spring and fall and spring again, then you can leave. If you're a regular graduate, you've got a fall, spring, fall before you can leave. Something like that. And if not to get too philosophical and how people grow and develop as humans, but that's just not the real world, right? So
No,
you can't just have
I would say that is the real world.
no, you can't just have
People change jobs all the time in the
I-
real world.
Yeah, but you're older. You're an adult. You're more.
But they do at any level.
Yeah, you can change jobs no matter how old you are.
Yeah.
But college
I guess
football is
my
not the
point
real
is my
world
point
to me.
is, you can't. If any of us here or any of our kids come to us and they have their job and they're like, yeah, my boss, he's kind of rude.
You're
I
gonna
don't
tell
know
him
if
to
I
stick
like it
with
that
it.
much. Like, just you've got to work through
There's
some
still
life
that there,
things.
but there's still that there. Now they just have
Not if
the
you
option
can just
of going
jump ship
somewhere.
constantly.
But there is. Look at the guys who do stick around at different places. I think that you got to be careful thinking that you're going to lock them in as if forcing them to stay in a position they tell you they don't want to do is in their best interest. It's not. It's maybe in a college's best interest, but only certain colleges who can lock up players. And what they do is
But
they play a
sometimes-
lot of games with people.
But sometimes some things are for a person's best interest and they don't even know it.
Sometimes it's like OU, the position OU potentially is in, where they may be taking scholarships away from players right now. If those players don't have an option to change, that's a real predicament that they're in. And it's not even if they take their scholarship away, but if they say, oh, by the way, you're no longer a starter, you're not going to see the field. That's really rough to tell a kid, and you're stuck here for whatever your stuck here period happens to be. That is tough.
What about with Chad Morris? went to Arkansas. His dad was the coach, right? Was he the
Chandler-
offensive
Chandler
coordinator?
Morris.
Chandler Morris, sorry. His dad was the head coach at Arkansas, right?
I think it's the OC.
Or the OC?
Yeah, OC. Yeah.
Okay, so he goes there, freshman year, doesn't play, transfers to OU.
No,
Immedi-
he came to OU his very freshman year. He was originally, I believe, committed to his
Committed,
dad.
Oh, he
yeah,
was
and then he
okay.
changed, and his dad
I
lost
was,
his job.
I was thinking
and
he was
changed.
at Arkansas and then came to OU.
No,
and
he
then
just went to
TCU.
OU.
Okay. Because I was going to
And
say
then
he's
went
already
to-
played.
and-
He's
and
already
then
been to
went-
3 schools, but he didn't go to Arkansas.
No, he
But
went.
his dad
But
got
I
fired.
mean, look at there are players that have done similar things.
Three
Oh yeah,
schools.
three, four schools. Some kids.
Which
To
I
me-
mean,
and that's to me that's not. The
But you
spirit
do
of
have to
college
sit
football.
out after the 1 year. We read that rule last time. Unless you're a grad transfer, you have to sit out a year after your first transfer.
after on your second.
On your
on
second
your
one.
second transfer.
yeah, and that's where you see the bulk of it. I mean, it feels like a lot, I think, because you do see that second transfer a lot of the time come in your grad transfer year, which, Lucas, I completely I resonate with the feeling of the spirit of college football and the nostalgia that we all have of, I mean, even me, didn't get to enjoy OU football like you all did for some, but like even like mid 2000s college football was, I mean, there's a feeling there, right?
Yeah.
Even early 2010s. So I mean, it's there, but change is good, and it's going to force better things. We get something as awesome as a 12-team playoff next year. We get something as awesome as OU getting to go join the SEC, which we never thought we'd get to see something like that. I mean, who knows what the college football landscape's going to look like, and I do think there is going to be some sort of equilibrium to it once the dust settles from all these shakeups and the conference alignments and stuff like that. And once I do think we are going to end in these super conferences per se, where you do have a almost semi-pro league of college football teams, and we'll see what the rules and regulations around that become. But it's going to make the game richer, whether it be financially or whether it be from an experience standpoint. And I really
yeah.
think from an experience standpoint, we are on the cusp of really, really awesome things.
It's
And-
not richer to me to see a guy like McCullough played Indiana last year. He comes into OU, say he's behind Harrington this year, and then next year some other dude that's a superstar at a school, and for some reason he comes to OU for NIL, let's say, and then McCullough's just like, well, I left Indiana to come here. I'm not going to get my chance, so I'm going to go
But
to.
but what would you rather
I'm going to go
see?
to UCLA.
You'd rather see McCullough not see the field. You'd rather him be a practice player at OU.
I'd rather no. If he Indiana to OU, he's immediately eligible, and then he transfers to UCLA. He has to sit out the year, and then something happens there, and then next thing you know, he's at.
See, I think
Purdue
he
or
should be able to
something.
transfer as much as I lean towards let him transfer, because otherwise you're telling the kid,
But that hurts
You-
our depth. That hurts.
Sure it
to me,
does.
It's also the spirit of college football is you get to know these players on the field.
There's a
'cause
trade-off to
They're here
all
for
of that.
3 or 4 years, as opposed to
Yeah.
every year you're learning.
but there's
your
a trade-off
22
to all
starters.
of that.
You've got 17 new starters every season because they've transferred from somewhere else.
not to
And I don't like that as a
Yeah,
fan.
I
get
don't
it.
think you build a team that way.
But you're being very selfish to say you
Yeah.
think you should get this, and these players, damn them, they
There
made
has
a
to be
bad
consequences
decision.
to their decisions.
Well, yeah, and so there's two aspects to that. One is you're telling them, screw you, I want what's best for me. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad for you, and you're stuck where you are. And two, what is the next derivative of that? What happens when they start thinking about, well, there's consequences to what I decide to do. I'm not going to take a chance on an OU. I'm going to go and do this because I don't want to be a second-team guy at OU with a chance to be first team. I want to go to Oklahoma State
Okay, well,
and be
what-
first-team guy where I know I'm first-team
What about a
guy.
kid that doesn't care if he plays and he's enjoying his scholarship and he takes it up for 4 years at your school and he's never going to play? What do you do as a coach?
So what are you saying?
What if you have a player who isn't going to transfer, isn't good enough to get on the field, and he just eats up your scholarship for 4 years?
He doesn't. You don't have to
That's a
give him a
consequence
scholarship.
of the head coach too, though.
Yeah,
making
that's
those
the head
decisions.
coach deciding that. I don't know. I agree
You can't
with
just
what,
kick a kid off the team.
Yeah, you can.
No, you
they're
can't.
They're 1 year scholarships. There's no commitment beyond 1 year.
Deion Sanders kick him off teams.
Wow, that's a new
But
precedent.
that's what's good about, and I'm going to tie this into what Connor said. I think that was a great point. This is the early stages of it. everything has to change. And if I understand Nick Saban doesn't like it, but Nick Saban grew up in a different level of football, and he's got to adjust to new rules. Everyone will adjust to new rules and decide on a new equilibrium and say, okay, I understand the new landscape. I can't do what I used to do. Just like when they stopped allowing you to have, I think it started at 105 scholarship players and then went to 95 and then 85. Schools had to make different decision making about who they were going to be. They couldn't just sit there and stockpile talent and wait for these guys. Once upon a time, freshmen weren't eligible.
Okay, what if they're not 1-year contracts? What if they're not 1-year scholarships, year by year?
Yeah, and that's been part, and I don't know where that has changed with the O'Bannon decision and everything. I'd have to look back and see and understand if that has actually changed with the grant and aid and everything. That was one of the things on the table that was debated, that's a problem, that they're just 1-year scholarships. I like the idea of being able to offer guys multiple different scholarships. I like lots of options for both coaches, teams, and players, so that they can say, hey, I like you, you're a 4-year guy, we're going to take a chance on you, you're a 1-year guy, and if it doesn't work out, you've got a chance to transfer.
It forces people to be better. It forces coaches to be better at their
It's
jobs.
strange to me that baseball can offer half scholarships. Golf.
Yeah, all
half,
the other sports
yeah,
can.
well,
You want to know
I
how
don't
they
know
screw
basketball
people
can,
too?
but-
So here's what I'm scared of. In a way, they screw people. If you're a volleyball player or just about any sport outside of football, one of the little secret tricks they use is they recruit you. You're great out of high school, and they recruit you, and you're going to get a scholarship. But you're not going to get a scholarship to your senior year. And so what happens is they come in, they bring you in to see how good you are. And if you're good, you can earn it. You can earn it right away. If you're not, they do everything they can to run you off to get somebody else in and churn through kids a lot. That happens in all the minor sports. And
I don't like that.
and that's
general.
ugliness.
Yeah, that's
and
ugly.
and that's the kind of ugliness
That's
that
not
I
the
worry
spirit of
about in
college
all of
athletics.
this. I totally agree.
The other thing, in my theory of going back to how it was, that you're locked in or whatever, or having to sit out the year.
More committed.
When you go to all of these kids that are playing major college football, especially when you get to the 64 super, the 16 league,
Yeah.
whatever, every one of those players has visions of playing in the NFL. When you get drafted in the NFL, you can't go to a team for a year and then go somewhere else for a year. You're locked into
Right.
a minimum
That's what I was going to say.
3-year
Why
contract.
doesn't the NFL just go to 1-year contracts for everybody?
Well,
So
because the
when you-
NFL has all the power.
No, it's
to not
because
do
the
that.
coaches aren't going to want to put a
because
whole
they have
team
all the
together
power
every single
to
year.
do. Because they have the power.
But
to
when
do
you're
that.
drafted, you get if you're a first rounder, it's a 4-year contract with a team option for a 5th. If you're a second rounder, it's a 3-year option with a team option for a 4th.
That's an idea.
So
I like
in
it.
college, you're trying to prepare these kids to go to the NFL, but yet you're going to let them bounce from school to school to school to school with no repercussions. So to me, I like to end the conversation. I think I foresee going back to the pre-portal. I still have a portal, but not in the instance of being immediately eligible right off the bat unless a coach leaves. But that's
The only problem I have with that, the big problem I have with that, is it
That's all I
just
got to
doesn't
say
hold.
about that.
It doesn't hold teams to the same standard as you're holding players. In
Well,
that case.
what if you didn't limit the quote number of years per se a kid had, so to speak?
Mm-hmm.
So you can transfer and sit out a year, but you get
you don't lose that year
you
of
get
eligibility.
4 years of playing. It might
Take 8
it may
years.
take you 8 years to get 4 years of playing, but you get 4 years of playing
Yeah.
football.
Not opposed to that, but it definitely runs counter to what you're otherwise saying about the spirit of college football, because that definitely is different.
A bunch of
historically
25-year-olds
different.
out
I'm not
there.
saying it's wrong, but it's different.
We have Chris Winkies all over the place.
And Whedon's.
Brandon Whedon.
Brandon Wheaton.
Well, that's a good conversation. I like that. One more thing, you want to talk about Texas?
I think we save it for next time. What are we at on the pod right now?
We're long.
We're at a minute 35, or an hour 35.
I think we'll
All right.
hold the Texas stuff till
God,
next time.
I want to talk about this. I want
Just
to
throw it
argue.
out. Just throw just a
So the argument we're going to come back to is Texas a top program, or are they just a potential top program? We can talk about a lot of stuff. We can talk about where they are positioned today, how their attitude kind of exceeds their accomplishments. We can talk about where Sark positions them versus prior coaches, etc. There's a lot to talk about. They're obviously our chief rival. There's a lot of reason to talk about it. Let's come back and revisit that on a pod very soon. Because I think that's going to get fun and heated. even though we all hate Texas. That's something we all agree. We all agree on that.
We're all
We
agree
all
on
agree
that.
on that. All right. Well, until next time, Boomer.
Sooner.